Welcome to Time with Terry, coming to you from the Space Coast of sunny Florida. I'm Terry, a retired PT assistant who has worked with seniors my entire career. In this podcast, it is my mission to be a senior advocate to connect you with an amazing network of resources, because in Brevard County, we care about our seniors. My trivia question today is, how many seniors are treated in the emergency room each year due to falls? Sometimes I wait to the end, but we'll probably have a feeling we're probably going to talk about that a little sooner than that. The reason I'm asking that question is because of my guest, Faith Morgan, who has a business, Faith's Fall Prevention Clinic. So welcome to the program, Faith.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah. So tell us about yourself.
Well, I am a physical therapist, have been for about 29 years. I'm originally from upstate New York and have lived up and down the East Coast in various states, and I have called Florida home for about 10 years now.
Great. And some of your hobbies, you like to hike?
I enjoy hiking. The one downturn for living in Florida is there's no hiking, because in my mind hiking requires elevation change.
Yes.
So I still like to get away and go hiking. Western North Carolina or Western South Carolina is
Beautiful.
Usually where we end up.
That's nice. I lived in Highlands, North Carolina. Beautiful. Absolutely
Yes.
Beautiful. And a fun fact is you have 14 children, you have 13 siblings.
Yes.
And you are the sixth child.
Yes.
So you are the middle child.
I am the ultimate middle child.
Yeah.
I am the sixth girl before the first boy was born.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. 6 girls. And then, okay, so then what came after that then?
6 girls, 2 boys, 1 girl, 1 boy, 1 girl, 1 boy. Kind of
Wow.
alternated after that.
Wow. Interesting.
And Dad always said that when we had as many boys as girls, we could get a pony.
Uh-huh.
We didn't get a pony.
Did you get
although my dad did manage to get a retired horse when I was already in college at that point.
Uh-huh.
But my sister went through 4-H with that horse.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I love 4-H. I was in 4-H too. We did sewing and stuff like that. So, but 4-H is great. That was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'm the middle child, but there's only 4 of us, so so a little bit different than having 13 other siblings.
It is different.
Okay, so you've been a PT for 29 years, so it's so nice to talk to a fellow therapist. I
Yes.
love it. Okay, so what made you decide to become a PT?
Well, when I was in high school, I really enjoyed science. So when I graduated high school, my aspiration was to be a research biochemist. When I got to college and worked in the lab and discovered that there weren't very many people involved with research biochemistry, I decided that I wanted to explore something else that I could use my science background. Mm-hmm. I did look into med school or pre-med at that point, but I found that the people that were vying to get into medical school, they weren't the team players because they were more focused on getting themselves into medical school. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time in that environment. So I went to the Career Center and discovered something called therapy. And as I was reading it, I said, well, how can I try and figure out if this is something that I want to do? So I went to the athletic training room and I worked as an athletic trainer for the next 3 years and loved it. So when I went to PT school, I was certain that I was going to go into outpatient orthopedics. And I got to PT school and discovered the neurological side of life and balance and all the interplay of everything. And that's where I fell in love.
Mm-hmm. I know. I always loved neuro. I did a little bit in the orthopedic, but neuro is so challenging. There's just so much. Mm-hmm. And there's a couple different theories out there too. That when I was coming up, it was like Rude and Bobath, and I don't know if that was in your area or not, but it was very interesting. But I always loved working with strokes and any neurological issues and Bell's palsy, not Bell's palsy. Guillain-Barré was real big back then. There was a big outbreak of that, but that's good. Neuro is very, very interesting. So, you had said that it was your dream to open a clinic?
Yes. So as long as I can remember thinking about what would be my ideal, is I had an image that someone would create a fall prevention clinic, and they would be looking for a therapist, and I would just step right into that role. And it didn't happen, and I decided that, you know what, I got really frustrated watching, well, essentially not even watching, but reacting to people falling. So as a therapist, somebody gets a broken bone, somebody falls and gets a head injury, so, something along those lines, I will treat that. But then insurance kind of stops when you get to the point where you're good enough. You can move around your house, you can get out in the community, you can get in and out of your car, and you're good enough. But the way that I see it is you were here before, and then you have the injury, you come out here, you're not quite as good as you were before. Insurance says you're good enough, but when you were up here, you fell. And we never addressed the why you fell. So that's my passion, is to try and catch the why you might fall and stop it before you do fall.
Right.
Because over the years, I've also watched many people, their fear is losing independence and not being able to live alone, and feeling like they're a burden. And if you can prevent all of those things and somebody can just take for granted that they can walk around and not fall, then that's the gift you've given them.
Right, right. And I know, and sometimes, like you said, with therapy, it's like you're good enough. Okay, now we're going to cut therapy because they're good enough, they're independent, but we don't want them good enough.
Exactly.
You want to try to advance them to be better than they were, or to be more independent than they were. So as far as your patients, there is no typical patient for you. There's no particular client, because you treat an array of diagnoses and issues that people are having.
Right. So you could look at it and say, okay, well, there's the more frail, I can't even say it's based on age, but the more frail person who is in their house and they want to stay in their house, but they've already fallen, or they're having a hard time getting around, but what they want to do is be independent and in their home. They do not want to go to an assisted living, but they're one fall away from their children saying, this isn't safe, you can't do this. And they fight it. They fight it really hard, and they'll do anything and everything they can, and they choose to get up less. They choose to do less, because if you're up, you're at risk for falling. Unfortunately, if you do less, then you lose the ability to do, and then you are at risk for falling. So that would be one of a more typical target for me. But the other end of the spectrum is the people who are retired and they're active and they want to do all these things. They save their money. They plan for retirement. They have the money. They have the time. And then they realize that physically they can't do certain things. They want to go out on the boat fishing, but getting on and off the boat is a challenge. They want to go on the trips with the senior center, and they can't step up onto the bus. So very simple things. They can do 99% of what they want to do, but there's one thing that stops them from doing it. And so that person is decidedly a target for me, because I can help that. That's a simple thing before it becomes a fall.
Because you were saying that there was a lady that you worked with, and she wanted to go on a trip, but she can't get on and off the bus.
Couldn't get on and off the activities bus.
Right. And because of that, she couldn't go.
Right.
So by working with her, then she was able to do that. So yeah, and she didn't have to sit around. Was she in an ALF? Was she at home?
It was activity center, senior activity center. And then I have another gentleman that I had worked with whose daughter had planned for a trip to Europe. And they, obviously in Europe, I guess I've never been, but my guess is when you do all these tours, there's a lot of walking and in and out, and so they want to be prepared for that. They want him to be able to move around and do as much as possible, so that the trip is enjoyable and not exhausting, and not dangerous.
That's great. Yeah. And you also work with some younger people with neurological issues as well. It's not necessarily seniors, that there
Correct.
are some
Correct,
neurological
because I
issues.
mean, I have over the years, not with this business, but over the years, I've worked with people with spinal cord injuries, which are not always just everything's cut off at one level and then it's a wheelchair. There are many people with spinal cord injuries that walk, or with cerebral palsy, or after a stroke or a head injury. So there's, and I've unfortunately I've worked with teenagers that have had strokes.
Yeah.
So it's not just a set age.
Right, right.
Everybody falls, I guess is it's the way to look at it. Everybody falls. As you get a little older, the landing is the problem.
Right. And a lot of times, once a person falls, they'll have another fall. And the part of the problem is that they're afraid. You know, that's the thing is like, you know, we've had patients who have fallen, and they're so afraid that they're going to fall again that their reactions are not, you know, they're not safe, you know, with their reactions, because they're just like so afraid, and they're just so tensed up that they don't use the flexibility to be able to catch themselves.
Exactly.
But that's one of the things that you teach them is how, first of all, try to avoid falling, but if you do, this is how to do it.
This is how you fall, how you get up.
And right.
But you're right. I mean, if one of the presentations that I've given is one of the lines that I will say is that fall prevention is a whole lot more than picking up throw rugs and installing night lights, because the throw rug has been there for 20 years. Why is it the throw rug's fault? Like, what has changed? Did the throw rug change? It didn't. But if you had a fall, you're afraid to fall. You've been up north. If you walk on ice, you walk really flat foot. You don't pick up your feet. If you're afraid to fall, that's the way you walk.
Right.
Well, you walk like that over a throw rug, and you trip over it.
Yeah.
But you didn't used to walk like that.
Right.
So if we can address the way that you're walking and figure out why you're doing that and address it, then that throw rug isn't the problem.
Right. Well, I always say sometimes they're not called throw rugs for nothing, because they can throw you.
They can.
Yeah.
They can.
And too, and then the rubber wears out on the back too, so then it makes it harder. I mean, then it'll slip, but it can be a physical problem though too, as to you're not picking your feet up, so the rug is gonna throw you. So yeah, so that's one of the things that you do when you do an assessment is. When you go into the home, because it's a one-on-one, sometimes you do home visits?
Yes. Okay. Home visits, I meet wherever they would like to meet, but usually in the home. And then first thing I ask is, what's your goal? What do you want to be able to do? Do you want to go on this trip? Do you want to go do mission work? Do you want to go play golf? What is it you want to do? What is your dream of, what you were going to do when you retired? And then I'll conduct an assessment, various balance assessments and functional assessments that kind of tease things out. And then I'll do like specific testing of muscles and range of motion, that sort of thing. So I can set up, this is their functional goal, this is what they want to do. This is the therapeutic goal as to what needs to happen for them to be able to do that. And then I set up a personalized exercise program for them so they can pursue that goal by doing certain exercises that are specific to them.
Great. And I know some of the breakdown, the breakdown of your assessments is the flexibility you check.
So yeah, flexibility, strength, obviously balance reactions, sensation, because if you can't feel that you're starting to fall, then you have less time to catch yourself, which then factors into what you call power. So there's strength, which is just the ability to move against resistance, and there's power, which is more of a force component of being able to push yourself up from a position, being able to catch yourself when you go from one position to the next. One of the other things that I will tell people is the way it was described to me when I very first started learning about how to assess people's gait is walking is controlled falling. So if you think about that for just a moment, if you stand on one foot and try to keep your balance, it's difficult. But that's exactly what you're doing when you're walking. You're standing on one foot, moving the other foot, which challenges your balance, and then in the most ideal situation, getting that other foot down just in time before you fall forward.
Right.
That's exactly what walking is. So if something goes wrong within that mix, that leads to a fall.
Right. Right. And that's something that you work with them on.
Yes.
As you're saying, like, walking is controlled falling. Right. And I know, and to work with their, reaction and reflexive, that, that it's a muscle memory too. So you have to teach them that when they go to fall, the muscle memory, okay, how do I do? What do I do? What do I do with my feet? How do I step forward or whatever to avoid that?
And,
So,
there's a good component of it, and this is, again, where the personalized thing comes in, is in order to practice catching yourself when you're falling, you have to practice falling.
Right.
I don't literally let people land on the floor, but there are certain exercises that you can do that challenge their balance with a safety net. So you challenge your balance up against the wall. So yes, you're challenging your balance. You don't want to touch the wall, but it's there to catch you if you aren't quite at that point yet. But that makes it an exercise. So you're strengthening the muscles, strengthening the balance reaction.
Right. Because that's what you need. Because usually you're thrown off. You're thrown off balance. If you're like walking down the street and a dog runs out in front of you, you have to know how to be reactive with your movement, because you never know what's going to pop out, what obstacle you're going to have to overcome.
Exactly.
Because it's fast
And it's reactive, and that's exactly like you said, motor or muscle memory, motor memory. If you're walking along, minding your own business, and you realize as you're walking there's a puddle, and you're mid-stride, and instead of, you don't want your foot in that puddle, so you change the placement of your foot. You then have to, you've changed where your center of gravity is over top of your base of support. You change where your base of support was going to be, and your center of gravity was already moving toward that base of support, and then you moved it. So you have to be able to adjust for that.
Right. Right. I know, and over the past decade, fall-related deaths have increased by 53%. Emergency room visits have increased by 43%. So, and then once you fall, that doubles the chance of falling again. When we're not trying to scare people or anything,
Correct.
we're not trying to scare them and say, but it does happen, and there's, you're here to help them to work on that, to work on their power and their strength and their flexibility. So that's great. So you've done the evaluations and
Done the evaluation.
and
Essentially, I was sharing this with someone the other day. Because of the way that I do the exercises, when I'm physically there, I can challenge them a whole lot more. So if there's someone physically there, like a caregiver or a family member, then the exercises that I give you can be a whole lot more challenging. Or you can choose to have me come back on a regular basis. So there's different ways that you can do it. I offer a variety, because I can give you an exercise program and you can be really good and you can be really on and say, I'm going to own this, and do that for a month and then come back and I'll assess, and then we can up the exercises. Some people don't like to do that. They want somebody to run them through each time, and I'm more than willing to do that. Sometimes you have the husband and wife couple that are in the house together, and they both want to work on something, and then I can create a program that the both of them can work with. And obviously they're still individual people, so that you got to be able to work with that, but then I can work with both people at the same time, because they're more invested, and then they are accountable to each other to follow up, and they know what's at stake, so it's a good thing all around.
Right. So, Faith, tell us some of the standard exercises that you do with your clients.
Well, everyone is an individual, but the one exercise that you're almost guaranteed to get from me, no matter what setting you're in, is just a basic sit to stand. And the reason behind that is A, everyone has to do it. B, there's a safety net. If you can't stand up, you're still sitting. You're not landing anywhere wrong. And it works on so many different parts of what your body needs to be able to move through space. So most importantly, you need to shift all of your weight. You need to shift the center of your weight or the center of your mass over your base of support and push up. That's how you successfully stand up.
Right. Nose over toes.
Exactly. So if you don't lean far enough forward when you go to stand up, you fall backwards because that center of mass is not over your base of support. You're going to go where the center of mass is. So if that center is over your feet and you straighten your feet, then you're standing up. The rest of the exercise is, whether you had to use the armrests or not to get out of the chair, you want to try and sit down slowly into the chair without flopping down, because the eccentric, which is the negative, the slow sitting, the slow use of a muscle on the way down, actually builds strength faster than the pushing up. But again, there's a safety net, so you're able to, you can use the armrest of the chair if you need to. You want to progress to using it less and less. And then, so that progresses to when you're standing and you're walking, the same rules apply. You want to have your center of mass over top of your balance point. Your balance point is your feet. If your feet are really close together, then you have a narrow balance point. It's a little more difficult to keep your balance. If you make your feet really wide, then you have a bigger base of support so that you can keep your balance easier. Once you start walking, then you're going from having all of your weight on one foot, and your center of mass is not exactly over top of it, but pretty close if you shift your weight properly. If you don't shift your weight properly, then your center of mass is off from your base, and you try to put your other foot down too fast. If you try to put your other foot down too fast before it's moved to the right spot, that's a means of falling.
Right.
So it's multiple things that you look through as you're going over that. But the main thing to consider is, if your base of support is directly underneath your center, then you are very, very unlikely to fall. I mean, unless some dog comes up and tackles you, something along those lines. You're stable at that point. But you need to move through space, keeping that center of mass over top of your balance, or your base of support. And that's where the balance part comes in. That's where you need more strength and flexibility, et cetera, to be able to do that.
And then once they do fall on the floor, you guide them as to what to do.
Right. So the other thing I tell people is, everybody falls. When you're a baby and you fall, you land on a cushioned diaper and it doesn't hurt at all, and you just get up and you keep going. The problem as you get older is not the fall itself, but the landing, because your bones thin out, your skin gets more fragile. I hate to say it, but your brain shrinks, so you have more room for it to rattle around if you hit the floor. So that's where the dangers come in. But everybody falls. So if you fall, then you need to know how to get back up. And the way that I teach people is to, first of all, when you're on the floor, do an assessment and make sure nothing is broken. So if you can move everything and it's not excruciating pain, there's a good chance it's not broken. You can try to get up. If there's a chair somewhere nearby, then you can use the seat of the chair for your hands and get into a position where you're on hands and knees with your hands on the chair, and then take one foot to put underneath you and to push up on. So you're pushing up on one foot, the other one just will come up for you. If you have the chair, you really don't even have to stand all the way up. You can just get yourself up enough to turn and sit in the chair. Then when you go to stand up, you're only standing from the chair. If you don't have that chair, it becomes a little bit more challenging, but not impossible. And you can be on hands and knees and work whichever is the stronger of your two legs underneath you so that you're on that foot and push up from there. I actually had a patient one time explain to me, she and her sister lived across the street, and older women who One of them fell, and the joke that the sister said was, "I just came across the street whenever she falls." And the two of them started laughing, and then they shared the story about how she had tripped actually over her oxygen tubing. And so she's on the floor. She calls her sister. Her sister comes over and looks at her and says, "I can't help you get up. I don't know what to do." So the two of them, instead of panicking, got on YouTube and looked it up, and there indeed was a video that showed you how to get up off the floor, and it was successful. They were happily telling the story to me.
Well, that's good that the two sisters, and had a good experience with that,
Yes.
and were resourceful, and she
didn't
wasn't
panic.
hurt. Yeah, and
Didn't panic.
Yeah,
That was
I know
probably
that's
the
the
big
thing
thing.
is don't the panicking is like the worst part of it, but yeah. So okay, well, now the answer to the trivia question is how many seniors are treated in the emergency room each year due to falls? 3 million. There are 3 million, and some other numbers. What is the number? The number one reason older adults end up in the emergency room are falls. So you can decrease your risk for falls by having some good therapy and have more flexibility, power, and strength, so that you can be more independent.
Yes,
And that's why they can call you, Faith.
absolutely. And enjoy the retirement you planned for.
Yes, yes. So, and my quotes, I always have a hard time narrowing it down. But my quotes are: falls aren't a normal part of aging. They're a signal that we can strengthen, train, and adapt. And when we train balance, we're not just preventing falls. We're protecting confidence, mobility, and quality of life. So that definitely increases your quality of life when you are more stable. Well, it was great having you on the show, Faith.
Thank you for having
if
me.
anybody, wants your services, we have your phone number again is
321-345-3635.
okay. And do you have an email or website?
Email is faithsfallpreventionclinic@gmail.com, and website is faithsfallpreventionclinic.com.
Great. Well, it was nice having you.
Thank you so much.
And I look forward to our next episode of Time with Terry. And just a reminder, reach out to someone today and be a blessing, and you'll be blessed too. Bye.